Well, here it is, finally, my Venus retrograde report. So this beginning part is going to be sort of my point form, abstract themes that are all going to be covering because I have so many notes, it's insane. Venus has been in Gemini since the beginning of April, and we're not going to be out of the effects of Venus in Gemini and the retrograde until we hit about the first week of August. So because it is Venus, it is about partnership. It's about love. It's about all kinds of relationships. The ideals of love, the mystical, all of the different forms of love that have been articulated by the ancient Greeks. It's an amazing time for creativity. It's an amazing time for art, for poetry, for music. This is also a great time for digital communication. So if you're developing apps, software, there's a synergy happening between Venus and Mercury. And so anything that has to do with social media, especially social media, this is a great time for YouTubers. It's a great time for people promoting themselves on the internet. It's also a great time for learning, education in your particular field, whatever that is. Training, reviewing, upgrading your credentials. Excellent time for study. But this is the idea phase, the brainstorming phase, so that when the planets are moving forward again, we have all the information that we need. We've gathered all the tools necessary, and we can now proceed with a far more refined, reorganized, and workable plan to move forward. People who are on a spiritual path, who are stepping into their gifts and abilities in this regard, those who are seeking a deeper communion with the divine are likely going to find it. And then, the more vain things, because it is Venus and Venus is retrograde, it's a really bad idea to do impulsive haircuts, hair color, tattoos, all of that kind of thing. If you're going to do that kind of thing, it's because you've been working with somebody for a while on your design. Otherwise, you're really taking a chance. Be very careful about things like identity theft, especially if that's something that you've already been through. Venus in Gemini is going to stimulate a need for more freedom in relationships. So open relationships, all sorts of new sort of alternative ways to conduct relationships in this day and age. And, these things are already happening, but they're definitely going to get more support. Gemini is all about social. This is the season of the sapiosexual. So intellect is going to be an important factor in attraction. It's really not the best time to start a relationship. And in fact, it seems as though the theme of this particular Venus retrograde in Gemini is the kind of thing that's actually going to break relationships apart. We're looking at a lot of temptation towards toxic habits such as codependency, deceit, betrayals, acting out, and the danger zones for acting out are going to be anywhere from the last week of May through until mid-June. And again, there's this tendency towards impulsivity. And indiscretions, infidelity, love triangles. All of these things are definitely possible. It's not about preventing karma. It's about focusing on the karma that we've come here to deal with. If your relationship is not sturdy going into this transit, you're probably going to be dealing with a complete and total breakdown. But it's important to trust that this is divinely orchestrated, that whatever is leaving, the better you get at letting go of it, the faster you're going to get to your next destination in your story. The other kinds of low vibrational things is going to be entitlement. It's going to be acting out under the stress of being confined for so long. I'm also anticipating that by the way that the astrology is working, that something is going to happen in the collective that's going to actually make the lockdown even tighter. If we learn not to become attached to certain outcomes, we'll see that there's been a natural course of events that have been set into motion. So depending on your sign, the focus is going to be maybe a little bit different than somebody else, but these are just the general themes that we're all passing through right now through the collective. So how that applies to you is going to be your personal experience. It's ultimately your choice as to how you want to deal with the energies that are present for you now. So when we get to the mid-June zone, things are going to get pretty uncomfortable for most of us. That uncomfortability is about moving us out of whatever we've become too comfortable with. The other things that we need to be careful of is how we're dealing with truth in our lives and whether we're sticking closer to wishful thinking. But what all of this is bringing us to our sense of our own truth. We know what truth feels like. We know when we're living it, and we know when we're not. Venus retrograde in Gemini is going to encourage reason over passion. At the end of the day, self-love leads to better relationships across the board. Self-care is everything right now. And the more you take care of yourself, the more it's going to change the energy of all your relationships. It is your responsibility to put yourself first. We're all at different stages of learning, and it's going to be important through all of the tension that we're all going to be feeling to be compassionate to each other and to not get stuck in that thought pattern of, I'm in this all by myself. We are all walking a similar path. We're just expressing it in different storylines. So there's my all over the board themes for Venus retrograde. I'm going to be covering a lot more of these dynamics when I hit the new moon in Gemini report, when I hit June's report. We're going to be talking about Venus retrograde all summer long. So stay with me and enjoy your reading. Hey Virgo, here is your very specific reading for Venus retrograde in Gemini. This Venus retrograde in Gemini is actually taking place in your 10th house of work and public image. So there's going to be things that are going to be connected with your career, probably like huge changes that won't fully manifest themselves until the end of June, beginning of July, and then off and running for August and September. This also could be a change in education. You may decide to go back to school for something, and you'll be really supported in that, as you already know from watching the beginning of this video. This is a time of preparation. So maybe you've decided to go back to school in the fall, and your summer is going to be all about realigning your life in order to accommodate that. So yeah, and the only other thing that may come up for you is father issues. So yeah, expect to see some changes in those areas. So I'm using my Klimt tarot deck today. I'll be clarifying with the Rider-Waite, and then I'm going to pull a couple of Lenormands, and then we're going to see what chakra you should be working on for this time period. So let's get 9 cards for you, Virgo. All right, there's 3, 4, and 5. And, oh, look at that. That's the 3rd one today. The Sun card is coming up. So it could be a Leo in your future. But let me get the rest of these cards down and we'll get right to it. No. 2 more, please. 1 and 2. Okay, so surrounding energies are, for Virgo, the moon. Okay, so Virgo, there's 2 dates that you're going to have to watch out for. The first one is May 22nd, which is the new moon in Gemini. I find new moons more testing than full moons for some reason now. I'm sure a real astrologer could tell you why, but I'm not a real astrologer. I just like to pay attention to them. So you may find some key events happening around May 22nd or June 5th. June 5th is the eclipse. It's the lunar eclipse, and I believe that sign it'll be in the sign of Sagittarius. All right. Oh my goodness. Virgo, Virgo, Virgo. We're the 10 of Swords today. Okay. Well, let's take a look at the past energies. Past energies, you were ready to charge forward, had a lot of strength. Maybe you were also headed towards a Leo. But there was a lot of confusion around that situation. A lot of options in terms of directions as to how that was going to go. You have the 10 of Pentacles and the 10 of Swords and Death. Well, Virgo, if you've experienced a death in the family, my condolences to you. But on the other side of things, the Death card also signifies a complete and total transformation of a situation. Probably having to do with your home. And you're not happy about it. You could be suffering losses as a result of COVID that has forced you to change home. And the Death card can also signal a Scorpio. In your future, you've got the 9 of Swords, so a little bit of anxiety. But you also have the Sun, so anxiety around either a Leo or an Aries by the looks of it. It's like you may have some anxiety about being happy. You may have some anxiety about actually stepping into your power. You also may have the spotlight on you more than you're used to. And this is causing a bit of feels. So I'm going to clarify a few of these for you. So let's take a look at the 10 of Swords first. Let's just see what's going on there. I'm going to pull 3 cards blind first and see what sort of a story emerges from that. Alright, so for the 10 of Swords, ooh! Okay, so this feeling of despair that you may have right now is likely going to be alleviated by either the new moon or the full moon. And it's going to be about a new beginning in love that's like 1 to the 10 of Cups, man. This is a really, you may be feeling really alone right now. And so one of these moons is going to usher somebody in. Now, I have to caution you, as I've already done in the preliminary video that was at the top of this one. Relationships started now, not going to last. But they're your karma. So whoever you're dealing with right now is a soulmate that you have made an agreement with to help you with your boundaries. So let's look at the Death card. Success. Whatever's finished, whatever is being completely revised is bringing success to you. from walking away. All right, so let's take a look at the Nine of Swords and see what's going on there. So it's either what your spider senses are telling you or whatever secrets you may be keeping around this situation that's causing you the anxiety. Be careful. And then we're talking about offering love. I mean, and the Queen of Swords. So, the person who you may be actually getting in touch with or connecting with could be an air sign. So that's Gemini, Aquarius, Libra. But then we've got the Sun again. Actually, I'm going to say that the Sun's going to clarify the Sun. So this is definitely something that's for your best interest. It could also be confirming the Leo. But we've got the Three of Swords, which is sorrow. So, oh, and the Devil. Well, it looks like you're going to be playing out a karmic story through the course of this, Gemini. Venus retrograde in Gemini. Oh, and you're going to feel it. Ten of Swords. Ten of Swords. Ten of Swords. There's obviously a lesson to be learned, though. So let's see what, yeah. So it's like once you're actually moving clear of this situation with this air sign or with this Leo, you're going to find yourself very empowered. You could be traveling for a new beginning, possibly with an Aries. Or they could be traveling to you. King of Cups with a lot of love to give. Which is going to bring a lot of hope to the situation. You could be dealing with an Aquarius. So there's a lot of signs here. You could be dealing with a lot of people. It could be, you know, the love you have for someone else that's going to break down, and then somebody else is going to come in and pick up where that person left off. So let's get some insight and symbolism from the Lenormand deck. Oh my goodness. Is it even noon yet? I don't think so. I had the sun pouring in here a few minutes ago. It was really pretty. All right, there's two. And one more. All right. So what do we have for you? We have mice, anchor, and crossroads. That's what that looks like. It's a really pretty deck. I can't remember who this is, but I picked it up years back in Toronto. Really beautiful. Mice, anchor, crossroads. Well, something's eating away at you. Something has really gotten under your skin. And it's about commitment. It's about attachment. And it's a fork in the road. So you kind of have to make a choice. And all of this activity here could be showing you that when you don't have clarity, what happens? A lot of drama. So let's take a look at which chakra you should be focused on during this time period. maybe Virgo's feeling, a little randy. So, sacral chakra. So this is about sex, yes, but it's also about creativity. So if you find yourself, I mean, I'm not going to judge, but if you find yourself feeling vulnerable to the urges of the sacral chakra, you might want to doodle instead, or get a paint by numbers kit, or try something new in terms of your creativity to distract you. I mean, I don't know what your karma is around drama, but there's definitely a lot of yearning for love in this reading. So this may just be yet another period in your life where you're exploring what these things mean to you, what boundaries you have to enforce to make sure that the right kind of love is in your life. And yeah. So I hope you found this helpful, Virgo. Have yourself a great day.